To moan about life is nothing but a sign of weakness. For Nietzsche, wallowing in misfortunes isn't a noble act. It's an act of surrender in the face of existence's inevitable hardships. Life, as he saw it, is saturated with suffering, and while it's only natural for us to experience pain and grief, there's a fundamental difference between acknowledging suffering and allowing it to fuel endless complaints. Nietzsche argued that suffering is an inherent part of the human condition, a reality we all must accept. From the moment we take our first breath, we are thrust into a world where pain, loss, and hardship are constant companions. Philosophers and theologians alike have sought to explain why we suffer, offering myriad doctrines that promise escape from this ceaseless torment. Whether it's the ancient belief that life is a cosmic trial, the biblical narrative of original sin, or the modern existentialist claim that existence is inherently absurd, the attempt to understand suffering is as old as philosophy itself. At its core, Nietzsche's analysis of suffering rests on a profound insight. Life happens to us without our consent, and it is filled with forces beyond our control. Our bodies, our destinies, the natural world, none of these yield easily to our wishes. It is no wonder, then, that our minds are hardwired to seek explanations and assign blame. We often ask, why must the world be so cruel? Or, whose fault is it that I suffer? Our rational faculties quickly latch on to convenient targets for our grievances. We blame gods, fate, society, or even our own frailties, often masking our inability to truly influence the forces that govern our lives. The act of complaining is more than a mere venting of frustrations. It is a psychological crutch that provides the illusion of power. Complaining, or what Nietzsche famously termed ressentiment, gives the feeble a fleeting taste of control. It is a way to momentarily feel as though one is pushing back against an indifferent universe, even if nothing concrete is achieved. This transient satisfaction, however, is nothing more than an emotional high, a mirage that fades as quickly as it appears. In Nietzsche's view, the energy spent on complaint is energy wasted. Instead of channeling that vitality toward creative endeavors or personal growth, the weak diverted into a cycle of self-pity and blame. This internal revolt, an imaginary revenge against life's inevitable hardships, ensnares individuals in a downward spiral. It's a bitter self-sabotage where the act of complaining becomes a substitute for genuine strength. Rather than facing challenges head-on, the complainer retreats into a fantasy where life's injustices are personified as enemies to be vanquished from afar. Central to his philosophy is a stark dichotomy, the strong versus the weak. For Nietzsche, strength is not merely a physical attribute but a comprehensive psychological and existential quality. The strong do not let suffering dictate their actions. Instead, they see it as a challenge, a call to create their own values and assert their will. This dynamic is encapsulated in his famous aphorism, "The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must." In this worldview, life's struggles are not reasons to collapse into despair, but opportunities to affirm one's existence and power. This dichotomy extends to Nietzsche's critique of common attitudes toward life's pain. He contrasts those who resign themselves to suffering with those who actively confront it. For instance, Arthur Schopenhauer, another great thinker, viewed life as an unrelenting torrent of pain, advocating for retreat and resignation as a means to minimize suffering. Nietzsche, however, believed that such a defeatist attitude was the mark of weakness. Instead, he championed a life-affirming approach, one that not only acknowledges pain, but uses it as a catalyst for growth, transformation, and the revaluation of values. Nietzsche's exploration of complaint delves into the archetypes of the complainer. He famously contrasts two figures: the spiritual complainer, often embodied by the Christian, and the material complainer, typified by the anarchist or the downtrodden masses. Despite their apparent differences, both share a common underlying trait: a deep-seated sense of inferiority and resentment. For the Christian complainer, the focus is on the idea of equality before God. The notion that all individuals are equal in the eyes of a higher power is supposed to be a great equalizer. Yet, Nietzsche sees this as a form of psychological self-deception. Instead of aspiring to strength and greatness, these individuals are content with dragging everyone else down to their level. In their world, weakness is celebrated and strength is condemned. This is not a call for justice or fairness, but a subtle, corrosive form of revenge, the revenge of the powerless against the powerful. By advocating for a spiritual equality that levels all differences, they deny themselves the possibility of transcending their limitations. On the flip side, the anarchist represents the material complainer, a figure who rails against the injustices of the tangible, physical world. Anarchists decry wealth disparities, social hierarchies, and the oppressive structures that dictate everyday life. However, Nietzsche argues that beneath this protest lies the same kernel of resentment found in the Christian complainer. The anarchist's fury is not a genuine call for empowerment, but rather an expression of deep-seated frustration, a desire to tear down what they cannot overcome. Their slogans of equal rights and social justice, though seemingly noble, are in Nietzsche's view a disguise for the unwillingness to build rather than destroy. It is a longing to see the powerful weakened, not to embrace the strength that would allow one to rise above one's circumstances. One of Nietzsche's most enduring concepts is the will to power. Unlike Schopenhauer's pessimistic view of life as dominated by blind suffering, Nietzsche envisions a force that drives individuals not merely to survive, but to thrive. The will to power is the fundamental drive to overcome, to assert one's existence, and to reshape one's destiny in the face of adversity. It is a call to action, a challenge to transform every instance of pain into an opportunity for self-creation. In practical terms, the will to power involves more than just physical or social dominance. It is about cultivating an inner strength that allows one to view life's challenges as stepping stones rather than insurmountable obstacles. For Nietzsche, this meant rejecting the habit of complaint and instead embracing a proactive stance toward life. The strong are those who use their suffering as a forge to create something new, to challenge the status quo, and to redefine what it means to live fully. Perhaps one of Nietzsche's most famous and controversial thought experiments is that of the eternal recurrence. Imagine for a moment that every event in your life, every joy and every sorrow, must be relived over and over again for all eternity. The idea is not merely a test of endurance, but a profound challenge to one's capacity for life affirmation. Would you be able to embrace your life, with all its imperfections and heartaches, if you knew it would recur infinitely? For Nietzsche, the ability to say yes to this eternal cycle is the hallmark of a truly life-affirming existence. It requires a depth of strength and courage that goes far beyond the transient satisfaction of complaining. To embrace the eternal recurrence is to reject the temptation to escape into fantasy or resignation. It is to confront the totality of one's experiences, both the exquisite and the excruciating, and to find meaning in the sheer act of living. This concept challenges us to reconsider our priorities. If every decision, every moment of triumph or failure is destined to repeat forever, then our choices must carry profound significance. We are forced to live with intention, to act with purpose, and to accept responsibility for the life we create. The eternal recurrence, therefore, is not just a philosophical musing, but a practical guide to living a life worth reliving. Nietzsche's call for a revaluation of all values is perhaps one of his most radical ideas. He believed that the traditional moral systems, rooted in Christian values and the slave morality of the past, had become obsolete. These systems, he argued, were designed by the weak to restrain the strong, promoting mediocrity and stifling individual excellence. In Nietzsche's vision, a new morality was needed, one that celebrated strength, creativity, and the will to power. This revaluation involves questioning every long-held belief and tradition, challenging the moral dogmas that have been handed down through generations. It is a call to discard the outdated notions of good and evil and to embrace a more dynamic, life-affirming set of values. This process is not easy. It requires a profound inner transformation and the courage to stand apart from the crowd. The individual must confront the uncomfortable truth that many of the values he has been taught to hold dear are nothing more than constructs designed to keep him in a state of subservience. Only by breaking free from these constraints can one hope to forge a path toward true greatness and self-realization. In his work Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche challenges the very foundations of traditional morality. He argues that the dichotomy of good versus evil is an oversimplification, a false binary that has been imposed on humanity by those who lack the strength to define their own values. Instead, Nietzsche calls for a pursuit of authenticity, a life lived on one's own terms, free from the shackles of conventional morality. This struggle for authenticity is at the heart of Nietzsche's critique of complaint. When we complain, we are implicitly accepting the status quo, allowing external circumstances to dictate our emotional responses. In contrast, the authentic individual is one who confronts life's challenges head-on, creating meaning out of chaos and transforming suffering into a source of personal empowerment. It is this unwavering commitment to authenticity that allows one to say yes to life, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. In today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, Nietzsche's insights are more relevant than ever. Modern society is rife with opportunities to complain. Social media platforms, online forums, and endless news cycles provide a constant stream of grievances. Yet, amid this culture of complaint, Nietzsche's call to transform suffering into strength offers a powerful antidote. Modern psychological research supports many of his observations about resentment and the need for personal agency. Studies in cognitive behavioral therapy, for instance, emphasize the importance of reframing negative thoughts and taking proactive steps to change one's circumstances. Rather than wallowing in self-pity, individuals are encouraged to adopt a mindset of resilience, one that recognizes pain as a transient state and views challenges as opportunities for growth. Moreover, the concept of post-traumatic growth has gained traction in recent years. This idea suggests that individuals who face significant hardships can, with the right support and mindset, emerge stronger and more capable. This aligns closely with Nietzsche's notion of the will to power, where adversity is not an end but a beginning, a crucible for forging inner strength and redefining one's identity. Nietzsche's philosophy also places a high value on art and aesthetics as vehicles for transcending the limitations of conventional thought. Art, in Nietzsche's view, is a powerful means of expressing the inexpressible and capturing the full spectrum of human experience. Through music, literature, painting, and other creative pursuits, individuals can channel their suffering into beauty. This act of creation is, in itself, an assertion of the will to power, a way of transforming pain into something transcendent. The Romantic tradition, which Nietzsche both admired and critiqued, celebrated this interplay between suffering and beauty. Artists and poets have long grappled with the paradox of existence, the idea that our deepest sorrows can give rise to our most profound expressions of joy and insight. By embracing art as a form of life affirmation, we are invited to see our struggles not as burdens to bear, but as the raw material from which greatness is born. Central to Nietzsche's philosophy is the idea that life must be experienced in its entirety, all of its highs and lows, its ecstasies and despairs. True strength, he argues, is not found in the absence of pain, but in the ability to affirm life even in its most challenging moments. This holistic approach requires us to reject the temptation of selective memory, where we only cherish the good and ignore the bad. Instead, we must learn to love life in its totality, recognizing that every moment, however painful, contributes to the richness of our existence. Imagine a life where every setback is viewed as a lesson, every hardship as a stepping stone toward greater self-awareness. This is the life Nietzsche envisions, a life in which the individual becomes an active participant in the creation of meaning, rather than a passive victim of circumstance. It is a call to engage fully with the world, to challenge ourselves continuously, and to celebrate even the smallest victories against the tide of adversity. While Nietzsche spent much of his life deconstructing the values of the past, he also laid the groundwork for a radical new vision of human potential, the concept of the ubermensch, or overman. The ubermensch represents the pinnacle of human evolution, a being who has transcended conventional morality and forged his own path. This figure is not bound by the limitations of the weak. Instead, he is a creator of values, a visionary who dares to shape his destiny against all odds. The idea of the ubermensch is both inspirational and challenging. It demands that we not only reject the habit of complaint, but also actively cultivate our inner resources to overcome every obstacle. In many ways, the ubermensch is the embodiment of Nietzsche's will to power, the ultimate expression of life affirmation and self-mastery. Although the concept remains elusive and open to interpretation, it continues to inspire those who seek to break free from the confines of traditional thought and embrace a future defined by creativity, resilience, and strength. How can we apply Nietzsche's radical ideas in our daily lives? The answer lies in cultivating a mindset of active engagement with the world. Challenge your assumptions by regularly questioning the values and beliefs you have inherited. Are they truly serving you, or are they remnants of a past that no longer reflects your potential for greatness? Embrace the struggle by viewing each challenge as an opportunity to assert your will to power. Whether it's a personal setback or a professional obstacle, consider how you might transform that experience into a catalyst for growth. Cultivate creativity by engaging in activities that allow you to express your inner self. Art, music, writing, or any creative pursuit can serve as a powerful outlet for channeling your energy into something meaningful. Let your creative endeavors be a testament to your strength in the face of life's uncertainties. Practice mindful resilience by adopting a mindset that recognizes the transient nature of suffering. Techniques such as mindfulness meditation and cognitive reframing can help you maintain a balanced perspective, allowing you to appreciate life's beauty even when the going gets tough. Live with intention by letting the concept of eternal recurrence guide your choices. Imagine that every decision you make will echo through eternity. How would that change your approach to everyday challenges? Living with this awareness can infuse each moment with significance and purpose. At its core, Nietzsche's philosophy is a call to reject the easy path of complaint and to embrace a life of relentless self-overcoming. Complaining is a seductive habit. It offers the temporary comfort of perceived control, yet it ultimately undermines our capacity for genuine change. True empowerment comes not from blaming external circumstances, but from harnessing our inner strength to transform adversity into a force for growth. By turning away from the toxic cycle of resentment, we open ourselves to the possibility of creating new, empowering values that celebrate life in all its messy, beautiful complexity. Nietzsche's ideas have reverberated through the ages, influencing not only philosophy, but also literature, psychology, and art. His critique of complaint and his celebration of the will to power paved the way for later existentialist thinkers such as Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. Sartre's concept of existence precedes essence echoes Nietzsche's call for self-creation, while Camus's notion of the absurd reminds us that life's inherent lack of meaning can be confronted with defiant joy. In both cases, the emphasis is on the individual's capacity to assert their own values in the face of an indifferent universe. This ongoing dialogue between Nietzsche and later existentialists reinforces the timeless nature of his critique of complaint and his vision for a life lived with passion and purpose. As we move forward, let us take these lessons to heart. Let us reject the allure of easy complaints and instead channel our energies into building lives that are defined by purpose, creativity, and unwavering strength. Let us embrace the challenge of the eternal recurrence, living each moment as if it were to be relived for eternity, and in doing so, find the courage to affirm life in its entirety. Thank you for watching. If you feel like you have learned something and enjoy this type of content, please like and subscribe for more future videos.